I call Marama Davidson.
Tēnā koe I te māngai o te whare, tēnā tātou katoa, Mr Speaker. Throughout the whole reading of this, the Tasman District Council, the Waimea Water Augmentation Scheme Bill, the Green Party remain opposed, and also in this, the third reading. And actually I consider it a duty and a responsibility to stand and raise the valid concerns and allow those concerns from community and other groups and individuals of the community to be given fair hearing in this House alongside the values and the visions of the Green Party, which go to why we are opposing this particular bill. I'm very, very aware, we all are in this House, that water is life, and I want to acknowledge up front the water issues, the water shortage issues to both people and households and also to the economy of that region. What we are disputing here is whether or not the dam is the absolute best solution, the longest term solution that takes everything into account accordingly. So, Mr Speaker, I'm happy to go through a number of the valid concerns raised from various groups and from the Green Party. I cannot stand in this third reading speech without raising the cost to ratepayers concern that I know has been loud and strong throughout the entire passage of this bill. It was heard at submissions, it was seen in written submissions, and although I am not on the relevant select committee, I have continued to receive particular concerns about whether the cost to this will be shared equitably, whether there are the absolute safeguards in place for any potential blowout to ratepayers that might happen, that we have seen happen on other similar schemes, both in Aotearoa and around the world, Mr Speaker, and that in fact questioning whether Council is absolutely upholding to the best of its ability its duty to ensure that the costs do not fall unfairly on residents and ratepayers. And there are several actions and processes that I have been taken through by several submitters that I am not clear yet whether the Council itself is upholding the necessary full measure of checks and balances that could be put in place to at least ensure that there is fair and just benefits back to ratepayers without the unjust actions of further cost on ratepayers. Things like simple standard business credit checks of relevant shareholders. Things like having a projection of whether adverse weather, which is a feature in our world more and more, whether adverse weather events or detrimental effects of a disease on a particular product, which we also are dealing with in our region, in our country, is properly planned for and accounted for. So I'm really happy to raise those points in this House today as a sample of some of the valid concerns that ratepayers have. The issue of land use is paramount to this dam, and no one will be surprised, and this government has actually already in fact announced a wind down to the subsidies of large-scale irrigation projects. So that there is a signal that we ourselves as government political parties have identified and acknowledged that we really need to think better, deeper, literally deeper, below to aquifers, below soils, as to the long-term effects of large-scale irrigation and the fact that they have been shown to encourage intensification, land use. And what we know from that, over decades of that way of making decisions over land and water, is that it has not gone so well for our rivers and for our water bodies and our water tables and our aquifers. So those are fair and valid concerns that, in one sense, this is a plaster. This is actually a plaster to try and address those real, very real water shortages, yes, but should we also be going back a step to consider the ongoing decisions that we make about water, about land use and land intensification, and whether or not this dam will encourage more of those same decisions which have dirtied up our rivers. So I raise that as well, Mr. Speaker. Using conservation land for commercial purposes should always be considered to the depths and the entire strengths of our risk assessments. And so absolutely, and I'm aware that processes have happened through the Environment Court, that agreements have been made, that biodiversity offsets and plans have come up. I acknowledge all of that, but there is a precedent that people have raised very valid concerns around, and that we must, I think, to have a balanced discussion and debate, make sure that we understand. We don't know enough. There is growing acknowledgement from the scientific field, from water community, water warriors, that we think we know. And I will quote, I think it was Mr. Patterson, who said we are a water-rich country. Well, we should be, but actually we have made decisions over generations where now we actually need to think about whether we are that rich when it comes to water. We've puddled up our rivers, we've dirtied our rivers, and we still have New Zealand households who cannot guarantee the water out of their taps is pure enough to drink and safe enough to drink. So therefore, we have a duty to understand more about our water tables and our water aquifers. And I don't know if anyone in this House can hand on heart say that we know exactly how long the sustainability of our pure water aquifers really are. So I'm really proud, despite the heckling on that side of the House, to stand up and make a statement about we don't yet know the full strength and longevity of our aquifers. Mr. Speaker, what I'm going to be very proud to stand here on today is the fact that we need overall holistic, cohesive planning of the entire ecosystem of how we make water and land decisions. And no one should be surprised that the Green Party is here to make that statement. And I'm also not surprised that the member Nick Smith thinks this is all waffle. That sort of thinking has led us to the degradation that we are seeing in our country today. I'm really pleased to be making a plea that we actually take bigger steps back and have a look overall at the decisions we have made around land and water and soil, and they have not done us the best that they possibly could have. So that's why the Green Party is, well, some of the reasons why the Green Party is standing proud as a sole voice on this debate to oppose the Waimea Dam. What I hope for going forward, because I know that this is going through, is that we will continue to monitor the biodiversity impacts of this dam, even though we think we've got it right. That has proven to not be true when we make these decisions, is that we make sure that we are not going to heap ratepayers with any future blowouts, that we monitor at every point the passage, the build of this dam, the construction of this water infrastructure, and for that reason I'm very proud to stand with my opposition today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Before I make the next call, there's a lot of chatter around the chamber. Can we keep that down? I call Dr. Zhang Yang.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to speak very briefly